The vacuum cleaner hummed quietly as I moved it across the polished floors of Nexus Technologies' main office. To anyone watching, I was just another member of the cleaning staff, working the evening shift after all the important people had gone home. No one would guess that I, Olivia Chin, actually owned the entire building. I checked my watch, 7:30 p.m. The quarterly family dinner at my parents' house started at 8 o'clock. I'd have to hurry if I wanted to maintain my cover. After 5 years, I still couldn't believe I'd managed to keep up this charade. As I changed out of my janitor's uniform into a simple dress from Target, carefully selected to look appropriately unsuccessful, I thought about how it all began. Fresh out of college with a computer science degree and an inheritance from my grandfather, I had a choice to make. I could follow the traditional path my parents wanted, a safe corporate job, maybe at one of the big tech companies, or I could risk everything on my own vision. I chose the risk. My grandfather had left me $500,000 with a simple note: build something meaningful. Unlike my parents, who saw me as the disappointing middle child who would never measure up to my siblings, Grandpa had always believed in me. He knew about my secret projects, the apps I developed in college, the business plans I'd sketch out late at night. But I also knew my family. The moment they found out about my inheritance, they tried to control how I used it. My older brother Michael, the successful investment banker, would insist on managing the money. My younger sister Amanda, the golden child starting medical school, would argue that my little computer games were a waste of time. So I made a decision. I told no one about the inheritance. Instead, I announced that I'd taken a job as a janitor at a tech startup. The reaction was exactly what I expected. A janitor? My mother had exclaimed, nearly dropping her teacup. But you have a degree. What about all the money we spent on your education? It's just temporary, I'd said, playing the part of the uncertain graduate, until I figure things out. Michael had laughed, that condescending chuckle I'd grown to hate. Well, at least you'll be close to the tech industry. Maybe you can learn something while you're cleaning up after the real professionals. What they didn't know was that I had already purchased an old warehouse in the industrial district, converting it into modern office space. Nexus Technologies was born, with me as the anonymous founder operating through carefully constructed shell companies. I hired the best talent I could find, people who shared my vision for developing revolutionary automation software. But I knew my family would never understand. They measured success in designer labels and luxury cars. So I maintained my cover, working as a janitor in my own company, watching my creation grow from the shadows. Tonight's family dinner would be particularly challenging. Nexus had just closed a major deal. Our automation software was being adopted by one of the largest manufacturing companies in Asia. The contract was worth $40 million. The news was everywhere in the tech industry, but the founder of Nexus Technologies remained mysteriously private. I parked my old Honda Civic, another carefully chosen prop, in front of my parents' sprawling suburban home. Through the window, I could see Michael's Mercedes and Amanda's BMW already in the driveway. Taking a deep breath, I prepared myself for another evening of subtle jabs and condescending advice. "Olivia, you're late," my mother said as I walked in. She was wearing a new designer dress, probably bought specifically to remind me of my place in the family hierarchy. "Sorry, Mom, had to finish my shift." I held up a bottle of cheap wine, another part of my costume. I brought wine. Michael, already seated at the dining table with his wife Jessica, smirked. "Let me guess. Under $10? Some of us work for a living," I replied mildly, taking my usual seat at the far end of the table. Amanda breezed in, her white coat still on as if she'd just left the hospital. "Speaking of work, did you hear about that tech company in the news? Nexus Technologies." She pulled out her phone, scrolling through headlines. "They just signed some massive deal. Their founder must be brilliant." I took a sip of water to hide my smile. "Oh? Not that you'd understand," Michael cut in. "Too busy pushing a mop to keep up with business news, right?" My father, who had been quiet until now, cleared his throat. "Actually, Olivia works at that company, doesn't she?" "As a janitor," Amanda emphasized, her tone making it clear what she thought of that. God, can you imagine? Being so close to success and still being... Well, she gestured vaguely at my Target dress and scuffed shoes. I thought about my office on the top floor of Nexus Technologies, the one I only used late at night when no one else was around. The one with the view of the city and the safe containing contracts worth millions. Yeah, imagine that. Jessica chimed in, ever the helpful sister-in-law. Michael could probably get you an interview for an entry-level position at his bank. At least it would be a real job. My mother nodded enthusiastically. Yes, Olivia, you're not getting any younger. Don't you want to make something of yourself? If they only knew. The software I developed was revolutionizing industrial automation. Nexus Technologies was changing the way factories operated around the world. But sitting here, watching them pick apart my fake life, I realized something. Their approval had stopped mattering to me a long time ago. I'm fine where I am, I said quietly. Fine, Michael scoffed. You're 30 years old, working as a janitor, driving a car that's older than Amanda's medical degree, and living in that tiny apartment. Is that really what you want for your life? I thought about the penthouse I actually lived in, the one I only visited late at night to maintain my cover. The sports car in its private garage. The offshore accounts growing larger with each successful contract. Not everyone measures success the same way, Michael. That's just something unsuccessful people say to make themselves feel better, Amanda said, checking her perfectly manicured nails. I saw your boss the other day, the founder of Nexus. They had a charity gala at the hospital. My heart skipped a beat. You did? Well, no, she admitted. No one actually saw them. They sent some representative instead, probably too busy counting their millions to show up in person. She laughed. Must be nice, right? Meanwhile, you're probably the one who had to clean up after the event. If she only knew that I'd watched the entire gala through the security cameras, making sure my donation was being put to good use. The hospital was building a new pediatric wing with Nexus Technologies money, not that anyone knew it was really coming from their unsuccessful sister. The rest of dinner passed in a blur of similar comments, my mother's concerned looks, Michael's condescending advice, Amanda's not-so-subtle reminders of her own success. I sat through it all, playing my part, while inside I was counting down the minutes until I could return to my real life. As I was leaving, my father pulled me aside. Olivia, your mother and I have been talking. We'd like to help. Help. He pulled out a check. It's not much, just $5,000. Maybe you could take some courses, try to get back into the tech industry properly. You're smart, honey. You're just not living up to your potential. I looked at the check, thinking about the contract I'd signed just that morning, worth 8,000 times that amount. Thanks, Dad, but I can't accept that. Please, Olivia, let us help you make something of yourself. I hugged him, this man who had never quite figured out how to believe in me. I promised Dad I'm exactly where I need to be. Driving home in my old Honda, I thought about how tomorrow would change everything. Because tomorrow, Nexus Technologies would announce its IPO. Tomorrow, the mysterious founder would finally have to step into the light. Tomorrow, my family would learn that the daughter they'd been pitying had built an empire right under their noses. I parked in my usual spot behind the Nexus Technologies building, changing out of my poor clothes into the designer suit I kept in my office. Standing at the window of my real office, looking out over the city lights, I pulled out my phone and dialed my assistant. Emma, is everything ready for tomorrow's announcement? Yes, Ms. Chen. The press release is prepared, the board is notified, and the legal team has finalized all the documents. I smiled, thinking about the looks on my family's faces when they realized the truth. Perfect. Let's show them what a janitor can build. The morning of the IPO announcement, I arrived at Nexus Technologies earlier than usual. Not through the back entrance with my janitor's cart, but through the grand lobby in my Armani suit. The security guard did a double take before Emma rushed forward with my regular morning coffee. The press is already gathering outside, she whispered as we walked to the elevator. And your family? Should be watching the morning business news right about now. I smiled, imagining their reactions. Is everything set up in the conference room? Just as you requested. Live streaming to all major networks, press packets ready, and she hesitated. Your family has been added to the VIP guest list. The conference room was packed when I arrived. Reporters filled the seats, cameras flashed, and at the back, I spotted my family, all of them. Michael in his expensive suit, Amanda still wearing her white coat, my parents looking confused but curious. They'd received mysterious VIP invitations to the Nexus Technologies IPO announcement, probably assuming it was because Amanda had treated someone important at the hospital. I stood behind the stage, listening as our board chairman began the introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this historic day. For 5 years, Nexus Technologies has revolutionized industrial automation under the leadership of a visionary founder who, until today, has remained anonymous. That changes now. Please welcome the founder and CEO of Nexus Technologies, Ms. Olivia Chen. The room fell silent as I walked onto the stage. Then the chaos erupted. Cameras flashed frantically. Reporters jumped to their feet. But I was watching my family. Michael's jaw dropped, his face turning an interesting shade of red. Amanda's phone slipped from her fingers. My mother grabbed my father's arm for support. "Good morning," I said into the microphone, my voice steady. For those who don't know me, I'm Olivia Chen. 5 years ago, I founded Nexus Technologies with a vision to revolutionize industrial automation. Today, as we announce our IPO, our company is valued at over $400 million. The questions came rapid fire. Why had I remained anonymous? How had I built the company? What were my plans for the future? I answered each one calmly, watching my family's expressions shift from shock to disbelief to something approaching horror. After the formal announcement during the champagne reception, they finally approached me. Michael spoke first, his voice strained. You're the founder, but you're a janitor." I took a sip of champagne. Actually, I just pretended to be a janitor. I wanted to build something on my own, without anyone's interference or judgment. But all those times, Amanda stammered. The cheap clothes, the old car, a cover, like my tiny apartment, which I only use for storage, by the way. I live in the penthouse on 5th Avenue. My mother stepped forward, tears in her eyes. "Why didn't you tell us? We're your family." "Are we?" I asked quietly. "Because for the past 5 years, you've mocked me, pitied me, and treated me like a failure. Not once did you ask if I was happy. Not once did you consider that maybe I had a plan." "We were trying to help you," my father protested. "No," I corrected him. "You were trying to force me to live life your way. Remember that check you offered me last night, Dad? To help me make something of myself." I pulled the check from my pocket and handed it back to him. "I signed a $40 million contract yesterday morning, but it wasn't the money that mattered. It was building something meaningful, something that helps people. That's what Grandpa taught me." Michael's face darkened. "Grandpa? What does he have to do with this?" "He left me an inheritance, $500,000. That's what started all this." I gestured around the room. "He believed in me, even when none of you did." "That's not fair," Amanda protested. "We just wanted what was best for you." "No, you wanted me to be what you thought was best." "There's a difference." Emma appeared at my elbow. "Ms. Chen, the investors are waiting in the main boardroom." "Thank you, Emma." I turned back to my family. "If you'll excuse me, I have a company to run." "Wait," my mother called out. Can we talk about this? Maybe over dinner?" I paused. "You know what the funny thing is? I had dinner with you every month for 5 years. You had plenty of chances to talk to me, to actually listen. Instead, you spent those dinners reminding me what a disappointment I was." "We didn't know," my father began. "Exactly. You didn't know because you never bothered to look past your own expectations." I straightened my jacket. "Now, if you'll excuse me, this janitor has a board meeting to attend." As I walked away, I heard Michael mutter, "She's right. We never really saw her." The next few weeks were a whirlwind. Nexus Technologies' IPO was a massive success, our stock price soaring beyond even the most optimistic projections. The press couldn't get enough of the story, the secret billionaire who worked as a janitor in her own company. My family tried to reach out multiple times. My mother left tearful voicemails about how proud she was. Michael sent emails suggesting investment opportunities. Amanda wrote a long text about how inspirational my story was. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I focused on what mattered: running my company, developing new technologies, creating jobs. I donated a significant portion of my wealth to establishing scholarships for young entrepreneurs, especially those who, like me, had ideas that didn't fit the traditional mold. 3 months after the IPO, I sat in my office, my real office, looking at an old photo of my grandfather. He was smiling that knowing smile of his, the one that said he could see something in me that others missed. "Ms. Chen," Emma knocked on my door. "Your family is here." Again, they don't have an appointment, but they're asking to see you. I thought about all the family dinners, all the condescending comments, all the years of being the disappointment. But I also thought about what my grandfather would say. Send them in. They filed in awkwardly, my parents first, then Michael and Amanda. They looked different somehow, smaller perhaps, or just more uncertain. Olivia, my mother began, we've been doing a lot of thinking. And feeling pretty terrible, Amanda added. Michael nodded. We were wrong. About everything. I gestured for them to sit. Yes, you were. But that's not why I agreed to see you. It's not, my father asked. No, I agreed to see you because after everything, you're still my family. And maybe, just maybe, we can start over. But this time, you need to see me for who I am, not who you think I should be. My mother wiped away tears. We'd like that. Very much. Good, I said, standing up. Then let's start with a tour. I want to show you what a janitor can build when someone believes in her. As I led them through the offices of Nexus Technologies, past the developers working on our next innovation, past the awards and accolades lining the walls, I thought about how success isn't always about proving others wrong. Sometimes it's about proving yourself right. And sometimes, just sometimes, the people who doubted you the most can become your biggest supporters. Once they learn to see past their own expectations and recognize the power of believing in someone's dreams. Even if those dreams come with a janitor's cart,